What's up, Gregory? How are you?
What's up, Clint? You're back today.
I'm
I like
back.
when you're back.
Happy Wednesday.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
see. We'll see what happens with Parker. Of course, Blue Review is presented by Los Angeles International Airport. Hire LAX creates life-changing career opportunities
I
for
don't even
Los
know what that
Angeles
is.
residents. For more information, check out Hire LAX on Eventbrite. All right, what do we got today? What did you guys go over yesterday?
So we were taking questions from the chat for the most part,
Sure.
but like today we got a double header yesterday. They split the
Yeah.
double header, but in the first game, I would like to say that they actually hit the ball really well. They had 9 hits. At one point, they had 7 hits and 1 run, so they just
Yeah.
weren't bringing guys in. I think that totally changed in the second game. They destroyed that. It was 11-2. It was just a complete meltdown. But this is something that you will like, Clint. The Maruco. The Maruco was in full effect in the
Big
second
time
game.
effect. Where's my sign? I'm looking for my sign.
Get your Maruco sign going on because
Can't find it. I might have to make another one.
oh my God! How could you lose?
Well,
Who's
I have
ready?
this one. I
Parker's
have the
not ready.
people.
You're not ready. I'm coming
Oh,
in a
here
little
we
bit
are.
late.
Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Here it is. The manufacturing runs company.
I
That's
think
where we are.
I think they had. I don't know if it was exactly. They either had 16. They either had 17. No, 18 hits last night or 19. I don't know, something like that. Whatever it was, they had two non-singles. So that means they had 16 singles. Clinton Yates,
Oof.
16 singles to get to 11. Hi, Parker. Are you actually alive?
There he is.
I'm alive. I'm here. You can
Oh,
hear
we
me.
have
We're
sound
good.
from Parker.
What
We have sound from
happened?
Parker.
Did you try to make a late game adjustment right before the game, or and it didn't work? What went on there?
Yeah, so the levels were reading my AirPods like 10 minutes before the show, and then, I guess you guys weren't hearing me the whole time, so I was just kind of mumbling to myself, I guess.
Nope, not one word. Not one word. So, well, you're here now. But
Okay.
either way, so Freddie Freeman had two non-singles. He had a double for his 58th double of the year, and he had a home run. Besides that, they had 16 singles. Every other hit was a single, and they moving guys around, and to the fact that they got to 11 hits, and it came from everybody. Amid Rosario, it was Kike Hernandez, it was Chris Taylor, it was absolutely everybody, all singles. Maruco,
Bats are
Yates.
getting on balls. We enjoy that quite a bit in terms of the production, as we said. Greg, where are you now, though? I mean, we've got what, 5 games, 4 games left? How many games?
Yeah, 5 games, I believe.
5 games left. Last year, this time, there was an entirely different vibe. It felt like, let me go back to the schedule here since I looked this up. Last year, they ended with 111 wins. They won 3 in a row to end the regular season, but there were some oddball losses in there that made you kind of feel like the team was not exactly conceding, but it was just a different situation. I feel like the vibe of this team, in some ways, the desperation of the pitching staff is kind of helping everything in terms of setting the tone for what they have to do at the plate, because this team as a lineup realizes they don't have a ton of room for error, no matter how good the young guys look.
So no, they don't have a ton of room for error, and all the guys in the batting order are absolutely stepping up. And it's not. That's what I was trying to get to. Is that it's not just Freddie Freeman, it's not just Mookie Betts. Every single guy is stepping up, and we talked about that a little bit yesterday, Parker. But everybody is. But look at in those 2 games, the pitching staff did step up. In Coors Field, where it's not easy to pitch in. It's probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest place to pitch in. And Bobby Miller was fantastic last night. Parker, you and I were talking about this yesterday about Bobby Miller. He had to have a good start in a very tough place to play because he was getting hit before that. So, Parker, what did you see from Bobby Miller last night?
No, he did just that. 7 innings pitched, 9 Ks, putting him to what, like 11-4 this year, which is for a rookie absolutely insane. I call him Bobby Big Time now because this is what he is doing.
Bobby Big Time.
Oh, he's Bobby Big Time now. I see.
That's right. And Pepio as well. Let's not forget he had a great outing.
Yeah, he did in the first game.
After the first inning from Ferguson, Pepio came in career high 9 Ks as well.
Ferguson is a problem. The lefties in the bullpen are a problem. Vezia and Ferguson, that is going to be an issue.
So do we like the opener situation? Do we like what this last 2 weeks of the season has sort of shown us in terms of what that can look like? 7 innings from for Miller is great, but like you Greg, it doesn't seem that you seem to be enjoying this experiment.
No, I'm done with it. I'm absolutely over it completely. I do not need Ryan Pepio to have an opener. Caleb Ferguson, it does not. He's done it before. He's had some good outings, but I don't need him being the opener in the postseason. He showed it. Caleb Ferguson is one of those dudes that if something goes a little bit wrong, he falls apart, and it happens more often. When he's good and he's on, he's great. Obviously, he'll mow right through you. But if one tiny thing goes wrong, he falls apart, and that's what happened in the game yesterday. He just gave up 3, and Ryan Pepio is good enough by himself to go 5-6 innings. You do not need an opener for him any longer. I hope that's experiment is over.
I still think it's a matter of necessity. I don't think it is one.
Why though? What necessity for Pepio?
Because you don't know how good players are going to be in the postseason, and the series are too short. I just think it comes down to that. I mean, necessity might not be the word, but I would not have a problem with these strategic choices there because I don't know. I mean, there's lots in play here too. Like young guys, their mindsets going into playoff games are not necessarily the same as veterans, especially whether they're young or whether they played in the playoffs or not a lot. I kind of feel like you kind of find a way to protect these guys on the mound in terms of the mentals because you don't want to ruin them for things that are down the line, especially if you have a team that you don't feel is necessarily going to make the biggest run in the world. This is kind of a tester, you know what I'm saying, for what happens in the offseason.
So I've been very negative about this pitching staff, and I've been very negative about how far they're going to go in the postseason, right? That's been kind of my thing since we've been going live for the last couple of weeks. I'm starting to change my mind a little bit. I'm starting to feel the positivity. I'm starting to feel like things are changing in an upper trajectory for these pitchers. I feel good about Bobby Miller. I feel good about Ryan Pepio. I feel good about Emmett Sheehan, and I feel good about Michael Grove at the end of the bullpen, or either it's not Michael Grove, it's Ryan Yarbrough when he comes in for a couple innings at the end. I kind of feel good about Kershaw, too. I think they can actually make a good run. This pitching staff has been actually very good over the last month and a half.
Let's define what that means. I mean, a good run basically means winning one series because winning
that's not the Dodgers.
Now all of a sudden it's not the Dodgers. We just talked about this early last week. You cannot keep switching the goalposts here. A good run would qualify as winning a playoff series because winning another series would qualify as a marginal miracle. Because you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. That if they beat the Braves, that's an upset. That's more than a good run at that point, is what I'm saying. You have to change the word in terms of the qualifications of what you're doing. So yeah, you can probably beat one team, but it would look the last opponents that the last 5 opponents that we have here. Yeah, Rockies, Giants, Tigers, the Mariners on the outside looking in, Pods, Nationals, and the Marlins, who are the only other team. I mean, the competition has not been stiff.
It has not been stiff.
Not remotely. You know, and the question is, are you beating teams that have kind of given up? You know what I mean? Or are you actually showing something that's going to matter in the postseason?
Well, they were not giving up. So Seattle was not giving up when they were
I think Seattle's going to make the playoffs, in fact.
Yeah, exactly. So they were definitely – that hurt their playoff chances when the Dodgers swept them. Yep. Then – even the Giants in this last series, they were right there to try and to move their way into the wild card. That the Dodgers winning 2 of 3 hurt their chances, and now they're out of it. So the Dodgers basically moved them out. So they were playing hard and then doing what they had to do. I think that I like and also the Braves are playing like they had the lead for all this time, for the best team in the National League. They know they're the best team in the National League. They're playing like the Dodgers played last year going into the postseason, where you're the best team by far over completely, and you're just kind of lay off the gas a little bit and just assume that when the playoffs start, you're going to be great.
The Braves are way better than the Dodgers were at the end of last season. just look at the number of runs the home runs they're hitting. I'm sorry.
The Dodgers had 111 wins last year.
Yeah, I get that, but that doesn't mean that the quality of the baseball that they were playing was necessarily higher. I think this Braves team is better than the Dodgers team was last year. But
it's a good team.
The Cubs, look, the opponent is going to matter here. I saw a couple days ago when you guys talked about who do you want to face off against. By the way, did you watch that Cubs-Braves game last night?
Oh,
the Cubs
Suzuki
lost on one of the most idiotic plays I've ever seen in my life. Fly ball goes up into the lights in the right. He calls off Belly in center field and then proceeds to lose it immediately. Ball drops. Braves tie the game. They go on to win it. It was ugly, but that's another story. I do think that I don't know. I still am not sure that I'm guaranteeing a Dodgers playoff series win right now. I've seen a lot, but this is the point where it comes down to what do you look like when the lights are the brightest, and it's more than just whether or not Greg Bergman and Clinton Yates are going to be on your behind or whoever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like there is a real shift in terms of what the intensity is that is going to be something that, listen, do I trust the Jason Haywards, the Freddie Freemans of the world, and quite frankly, a guy like a Mark Pryor to make sure that these pitchers are in their place in terms of where they should be mentally? Yes, but that doesn't mean that it's going to go that way. And this is almost more fascinating to me than last season was in terms of who the Dodgers are franchise-wise, identity-wise, and how everybody handles this.
And I think they're playing into the identity that we all want and expect from them. Playing with passion, playing well with runners in scoring position, doing Maruko that we were just talking at the beginning of it, doing things that they were not doing last year and in prior years. I just feel like it's funny. I've been negative so much. You guys are giving me hell for being negative.
I wasn't giving you hell. I was just surprised because you never do it. Listen.
And now, as we're getting longer, I feel like I'm excited for the playoffs to happen next week. I think they have a really good chance to get through the first round of the DS and give the Braves a run, and they can make the World Series. And if they make the World Series, I think they're going to win it.
Making the World Series is a lot at this point for me. It's
right there. Their pitching staff is pitching really, really well with a lot of confidence. Bobby Miller is a guy that does not care. He does not care about the moment. He's going to just throw what he's got. And all these other dudes too. Pepio, because he came in so late, has been doing great. So I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I feel like they're hitting their stride at the right time, and that's the most important thing to do when you're going into the postseason. Hitting your stride at the right time.
That I don't disagree with. Do we have current odds on who's going to win the World Series?
It's probably the Braves at
updated odds. No, I just want to see where this ranks.
Minus 350, something like
that.
Not that
I know the numbers. I don't really understand the numbers, but I do understand who's got the
most. Minus 350. Bet 300. Bet 350 to win.
What I'm saying is compared to the other teams is what I'm asking about, not the actual dollar amount. So the Braves got the best odds.
Dodgers still the second favorite.
They're still second favorite. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That is interesting to me. Because that hasn't changed much. You know what I mean? I feel like we internally have been up and down on whether or not we think this can matter, but Vegas is not really moved on the Dodgers being the second team. So to that point, I do think you're right, but man, the Braves are so good. I can't stop saying that.
They are. Well, yes, they are very good. But even if you look at their record down the stretch, last time I looked at it, they were 4-6 in the last 10. Like they've been losing games recently, and I understand. But that's what we're talking about. When going into the postseason, the Dodgers last year and the years before, they would lose a bunch of games when they were heading up because they just weren't at the peak. They're just like, we're just sitting back, do what we got to do. We're going to get in, and we'll be fine once we get in. The Dodgers are playing at a high level going in, and I think that's important.
Do you think Doc has any remote? Where would you put him in a potential manager of the year discussion in the National League?
He's probably not going to win it. I bet. Who's the manager in Chicago or the Marlins?
David Ross. Yeah,
David Ross. I think maybe David Ross will win
Lovullo in Arizona as well. Is
he's got a chance. Lovullo, that's a good one. But Dave Roberts should absolutely win it for what he had to deal with. He lost his entire pitching staff basically. You lost May and Gonsolin, and you had no Bueller, and you lose Urias in the midst of it. You lost your starting shortstop before the season even started, and Gavin Lux. We haven't even talked about that in months. Yeah. You don't have that. You have dudes. You lost the guy in Justin Turner, who was like the heart and soul of your team, and they're still winning 100 games. They were not even supposed to win the division. The Padres were supposed to win the division, and they didn't. They still went out getting close to 100 games. He absolutely should win it, but he's not going to because it moves around, and they don't like giving it to those types of teams.
Yeah, and I think there's also a discussion to be had here. It's what the award is one thing, but is this perhaps the best job he's done? You know what I mean? In a long time, in terms of forget the award. This is, I said this at the beginning of the year. The managing of the managing is going to be difficult this season, and they've managed to pull it off in a way. I did not mean to say manage the other time, that last part, but they've pulled it off in a way that has not, you don't get the idea that something is surprising to you. There's not all of a sudden it's a little bit of a miracle. They kept it moving in a way that is systematic with what they've already done, which is a lot of credit to how that guy runs his clubhouse.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm saying he should, because you basically got through the year with a hobbled Kershaw and 4 rookies as your starting pitchers. That's what you did. Sheehan, Grove, Pepio, and Miller.
Pretty impressive.
That's what you got through. It's amazing. And those guys weren't even supposed to come up yet. They had to be pulled up too early because they had to be, and it just felt like business as usual. And so he's not going to get the credit he deserves.
It was not okay. Slow down. There was nothing business as usual.
You win 100 games. What else?
Gone. That's what my point is that they actually switched some level of mindset and had the guts, the stones, the cojones, if you will, to go with the rookies and not just blast out and spend a bunch of money on guys that you don't know or whether or not they're going to do anything. They trusted their system, and the manager trusted his players. And, the reason why that matters is because, look, if this is the best job that Dave Roberts has done this season in terms of feel, in terms of getting things done with guys in different spots in the regular season, how is that going to translate to the trust in the playoffs? This is where the rubber hits the road in terms of, is Dave going to have a little bit more say from what we understand of the situation, or are we just going to be going back to the books in terms of how we do things and how we don't? I think this is a different type of regular season to judge how you're going to proceed in the postseason from a numbers, analytics, and strategy standpoint.
Yep. Do we have anything in the chat? We only got a minute or two left here. So, Parker, we got something in the chat?
Yeah. CY, do you happen to have the list near you?
I do have the list near me. Do we need to add a name?
Whip it out, because the chat has asked. Let's see. This is another question from Stone Steve Mason, a P1 of Blue Review. He asked, does Colton Wong deserve a spot on the postseason roster? The 26
Colton Wong.
This
was originally just for pitchers, but he did turn a nice double play last night. So.
He plays well. I mean, we have to do that. We'll probably do that next week
we'll do position players next week on the
too early still. Yeah, because we have the entire week of no Dodger games next week.
Right.
So we'll go through who is and who is not going to.
Wait, we have an entire week of this show with no Dodger games next week?
Yeah, the first game is October 7th. It's a Saturday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will just say thank you to LAX for that.
yes. Here, well, I do have one question for you guys, a little parting gift.
Yes.
Are we worried about Will Smith? He has been struggling recently, and I mean,
even
it's been all year. Will Smith is better than Barnes, but
yeah, I mean,
how do you feel?
If you're worried now, stay worried. I mean, this is what it is. Nobody goes into the playoffs completely healthy. Nobody goes into the playoffs necessarily completely hitting on all cylinders. Like, you get what you get out of Will Smith, and the best part about it is that he's a literal tough guy. There's not going to be a situation where he pulls a Josh Hader and says, "Are we in this? Because I don't want to play. If not," that was unbelievable. By the way, that happened 2 days ago. I was like, "Are you serious? How do you face a manager and telling you not going to play? That's insane." But
if you want to get into that, I think it's a much larger and bigger conversation. We can have that conversation tomorrow when it comes to the Padres.
Apparently, we got a week to fill next week, so yeah. We have whatever we want, so.
Man, how do you not know the schedule?
Because I'm doing other things.
I know. So am I. But anyway, either way, to answer your question, Parker, no, I'm not worried about Will Smith. Like Clinton said, you're going to get what you get out of him. But I think he is that type of gamer that some guys go into the postseason super hot and then fall off. And some guys go into the postseason super cold and have amazing postseason. I think he's going to be the latter type of guy. He's going to pick it up when you need him to pick it up. He's gonna come away with like a couple of big home runs somewhere that's going to win him a game or something like that. So I feel like and also, yes, you don't have another catcher. It is Will Smith. You're not going Austin Barnes unless Kershaw's
We have no
pitching.
options. Yeah,
just deal with what you got.
All right. Well, hey. Greg Bergman, Clinton Yates, and Parker Bell. This has been another edition of Blue Review. You see the plane in Clinton's hands. This is because we are presented by LAX. So thank you, LAX. And we will catch you next time. Happy Wednesday.